What's up guys, Slash here. Today we're going to be getting into the new BT22 Gogeta. Now we're going to be doing a bit of a shorter video, just showcasing a simple build that you can do. Not the cheapest build obviously, but something that I found that was the most consistent. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So here we are, we have Gogeta. Now this deck is really fun, but it can be a little tricky to play. So the way that the deck works is we're trying to play an Aegis card onto our field, and then from our Z extra card here, we get to be able to use the cards from our drop and send them to the warp rather than having to discard cards from our hand. Now, we're not going to jump too much into what the cards are doing in that. This is just a short video showcasing the deck itself and the changes that I've made for it personally. Now, the deck, we're running 54 cards, which is, it's a lot, but you draw quite decently from the deck. You cycle pretty well as well because of this card and this card. When these are placed from your drop to your warp from a result of Aegis skill, you get to use the effect here to grab a yellow Goku that's a 3 cost from your deck and add it to your hand, and then vice versa with this grabbing a blue Vegeta. So you could end up grabbing this one or this one. So we have almost a full stack of everything here. This is your great Aegis card for turns 2, 3, and 4 if you need to. Don't overfill your field though with them, because it's really easy to make the mistake of losing them all and you have no more Aegis skills, because this will only have barrier during your opponent's turn, but then after that it's defenseless, so it's easy to remove this card. Now the way that we are playing this deck is you want to have your Veku on the field for turns 2 onwards. Then from that, because you use your Aegis skill during your opponent's turn, you can use your skills to be able to use these effects to be able to cycle your deck, or use these to play the battle cards, and these become 20Ks. So this will be a 20K blocker. This will be a 20K critical. Now, what we're also looking at doing with this deck is we want a little bit of damage, because it's very defensive, but it doesn't have a lot of damage output in general when I try to just standard stock list. So I've added 2 Zamasus to be able to rest your opponent's cards. You can also use this to help with a rival, and our rival for the deck is the Lightning Speed Kefla. Now this card is still pretty nutty. You pay 3 energy for your arrival. If your opponent has 3 or more energy, you choose 1 card in your hand and discard it. This card gets dual attack for the turn. If the card discarded by the skill was a copy, you get to draw 2, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and switch it to rest mode. So I was having 4 at first. I still think 4 is good, but space is a bit tight with the deck because you have so much of your archetype in here in general. But the card is really good. I highly recommend running this in the deck. It's really good damage output to your opponent. Also, if you need to, you can use it defensively and play it as a blocker if you need to. Now, for the rest, we have 4 Dimension Magics. This is just going to help you restand energy. We run 1 Pilaf, Shu, and Mai. It's just a very handy card. It can help you draw from it as well. You can negate the keyword skills on one of your opponent's cards for the turn. So if they are swinging with double strikes, you can get rid of their double strikes for the turn. Then we also have 3 of the Defending Friends. Allows us to be able to run less counters in general. So we only have 4 of them and then 3 of these. Charging Z energy can be a little bit tricky with the deck, but this is still the best option for your extra counters for the deck. We have the 1 Ultra Instinct, just for that extra boost if you need to do it for damage to your opponent. We have 1 Golden Avenger. I was running 2 at first, but 5 energies for an investment for a counter is quite heavy. And we also have 3 Senzu Beans to help restand and use it defensively, because we have a 20k Z leader itself. We have our Beast Gohan for the ultimate, just to help restand, and of course to make them crit a life. We run 2 Hit the Revokers. This card has been so clutch for the deck, because on our Z leader, you restand a lot of energy because, let's say turn 4 or turn 5, we have one of these on the field, we have one of these on the field. That means you have 2 times that you can use Aegis, which is going to restand 4. Then from the Z leader itself, we get to restand an extra 2. So you're restanding a lot of energy during your opponent's turn. So we're able to afford to play for 3, our Hit the Revoker. Now this card is crazy because you choose 2 of your opponent's energy and you switch them to rest mode. Then play this card. So this card is pretty nutty. Then, of course, we have 2 Zamasus for our counterplays. Still pretty good card. It's not the greatest. At first, I wasn't running it, but I just found later and later that it was a little bit necessary in the deck in general. And then for a little bit of extra damage, because that's where this deck struggled a bit, because we're already adding cards to our Z energy, I decided to add 2 Mortals Be Gone, and it works super well because of the activate battle to play it. And of course, you can bottom deck your opponent's cards. You get to draw a card off this as well, and it's a 20k beat stick. So that's fantastic. So yeah, and then for the Z deck itself, the way that the cards are working is we have the Cell itself to help clear the field. We have our Beerus for barrier removal. We have our Super Saiyan Blue Vegito just for a big boss monster for the deck if you need it. We have the Z leader itself, of course. And then, of course, we have 1 Janemba. This can help restand energy and clear some battle cards from your opponent. It's actually a very good generic card in general. It can become a 1 cost 1 Z energy from its permanent here. Now, the Z extra card itself, the way that this deck is working is on turn 2, you want to play this card, or turn 1 if you can, of course. Then you get the effect here. If your leader is a blue leader with Son Goku and Vegeta, or blue Gogeta Z leader, you can activate Aegis skill by sending 1 yellow and 1 blue card from your drop to your warp instead of discarding them from your hand. So that's how we get the effect for our Aegis. Now, I know the deck is a little bit all over the show from what I'm explaining, but we're just making a short little list here. This will probably be one of the final videos I do for a little while, because I'll be heading over to New Zealand, so bear with me here. So we also have this cool activate battle here. If your opponent does not counter your Z leader attack when you attack with them, you can end game with this. It is nutty. I highly recommend checking out the Lookout. He did a great video showcasing what the cards do and how you can sequence things. And this is just my take on what I do to play the deck itself. Now, if you have 5 or more energy and a blue Gogeta Z leader is attacking, remove this card from the game. Your attacking guard gets 30k and triple strike for the battle. So you're a 50k triple strike leader swing. That is crazy good. Don't expect to be getting to turn 7 with this deck, so you can't like pay 5 for your counter and then pay 2 for this. That's probably not going to happen. But this will always scare your opponent from wanting to not counter your leader attack in general, just because this is a threat. And then, of course, for the side deck options, we have a lot of different things you can run. I've tried a lot of these things out. The Another World Blitz was actually a pretty cool option because we're placing the blue and yellow cards from our drop to our warp, which means our drop is clear, therefore means we can play this for 4 energy. It's a pretty good card, but late game, you won't really have that many options anymore because you're not going to be popping off Aegis that often. And then, of course, you could use your Android 17 and 18s to boost with your mono blue cards from your drop to help charge your Z energy. We also have 2 more Zamasus if you want to. This is also a really handy card. We have 2 of the SS Blue Goku and Golden Frieza. You just have to choose one of your yellow cards. You keep it in rest mode. You could play this for 2. It's barrier removal. You get to draw a card off it. It's pretty handy. And then, yeah, we have a lot of other options here. I'll link the deck profile in the description down below so you can check it out and you can have a view of all the cards yourself. Yeah, and I would say in general, the deck is quite expensive, but it is very powerful if you just learn to master it. It's just one of those decks, you know? So, that is more or less the deck. So I hope you liked the video. I know it's a short one. Subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps me out. We're on our way to 300 now. And thanks for watching, guys. Peace.